So good afternoon, good morning, everyone. So as Rochelle mentioned it, I'm Nadia, and today's webinar is going to be focused on how you can use MapleLearn to help your students doing math, learning math, visualizing some concept in economic class. So just so you know, if you have any question during my presentation, feel free to put your question in the Q&A window because my colleagues Miles and Nicholas can reply to your question live. And also keep an eye on the chat window because we're gonna share some links. So you can also try a bit of what I'm doing and follow the webinar that way. So without further ado, I'm gonna share my screen and we're gonna start the webinar. All right, so everybody, should be able to see my screen. Okay, so for today's webinar, I thought that instead of going straight into the point and seeing how you can use MapleLearn in economics class, we're gonna spend a bit of time to first of all see what is MapleLearn, how to use MapleLearn, and how to get started with MapleLearn, mainly for the people who don't know MapleLearn and who would like to see basically how they can use it when you've never used it. So there are several ways actually to use MapleLearn. The first way, and we're gonna share the link in the chat, is to go directly onto our website, which is learn.maplesoft.com. So my colleague will share the link on the chat, so you can try it. And what you will see when you go onto this website is what we call our MapleLearn document gallery. So in this gallery, you will find around, honestly, I think I lost a count of those all the documents that you can find, but around thousands of documents organized by category. So you're gonna find a lot of tutorial when you want to start with MapleLearn and do some specific type of application, let's say work with function, do statistic with MapleLearn. And then the more you scroll, the more you're gonna see content organized by category. So the first one will be function when you want to work with function in MapleLearn. Don't forget to click on more if you want to explore a bit more example, and so on and so on. I won't scroll through the entire gallery because, as I said, it may take a bit of time, but feel free to do it on your own time. The best way actually to find document when you are looking for is simply to use the search bar. So, as I said, when you start with MapleLearn, you go onto the Learn website, and one way actually to start creating your content or using content is to reuse some of our documents. So let's say you would like to create some document in finance just to illustrate for the student, like the difference between compound interest, what is an annuity, and things like that. So if I type finance within the search bar, you're gonna see that I'm gonna find some example in finance, but I'm gonna find also this type of content with a little folder icon, which is what we call a collection. So this is an entire collection of documents. And when I click here, I'm gonna have access to all the documents related to finance. So let's say you're in the case of you would like actually to do a simple exercise for your student on, I'm gonna take the first one, let's say simple interest, but you don't know where to start. So let's say you click on this example, so simple interest example number 1. When you click on it, it's gonna open into another window and you're gonna have access to the document. So from that point, this document is gonna become your own document. So from that point, this document is gonna become your own document and you can reuse it and customize it. So you can see that here you can change the name of your document, but you can also change the content of the document. So let's say you want to call it exercise. All you have to do is to type exercise 1, let's say. You can customize it also if you want to change the font and the color, let's say, of this. And then you can change a bit actually the content that is in it. If you want to change the name, let's say, of the person, and also some values actually that are in it. So for example, the purpose of this exercise is to use a 4% simple interest. Let's say you want to illustrate something with 2%, you can simply change it. And you can also change the math that is behind actually this formulation. So you see that now I've changed everything and this document became my document. And all I have to do actually is to click and save a copy and then share it with my student. So this is a way to start with MapleLearn, is to go into the MapleLearn gallery, select the document or the type of document that you would like to create, open it, customize it, and then this document becomes your content. The other way to use MapleLearn is obviously if you already have an idea, a pretty clear idea of what you would like to do with MapleLearn, is to create your content from scratch. So for that, all you have to do is to click on Open a new document here. So when you do that, you're going to end up onto a blank document in MapleLearn. And then once again, you start by naming your document. So you can click on My Document, and then you're going to start to create your content. So for the purpose of this session, I thought that I would give you a little tutorial on how to use actually some of the features of MapleLearn for a specific application in economics. So I've started to draft it kind of my document just so I don't type a lot of things in front of you and it doesn't get boring. But just so you know, when I created this document, I also started from scratch. So I started to enter my title, and then I created. So one thing to know when you work with MapleLearn is, first of all, where to find your content, where to find features to enter your content. Rule number one is that, first of all, your content is entered by group. So you can see that here on my working space, I have 4 groups. So group 1, 2, 3, and 4. And all my group can be moved around. So I can rearrange my content the way I want by simply dragging the vertical bar that is here and putting my group wherever I want into my working space. I can also add more group if I want by simply double-clicking anywhere into the canvas. So you've seen that now I've added a new group that I can move around. So the idea behind the MapleLearn canvas was really to give flexibility to the user, whether it's a teacher or student, to arrange his content the way he wants it, really to give him the ability to visualize, but also solve the problem the same way he would do it actually on his piece of paper. So when it comes to enter content, you have several ways to do it. First of all, when you look into this area that we call the toolbar, you're going to find a wide range of content of palette that will allow you to do a lot of clickable math. So we have a function palette, a trigonometric palette, a geometry palette also when you want to enter some geometric object onto your plot window. Then you have your working space here, and you can simply type your command. So here you've seen that I've started to type a math expression, but nothing stops me from typing another one. So let's say if I want to enter an equation, you see that I just have to use my keyboard and I've entered some math. Let's say that at some point you want to enter some text within your group. You can combine actually your math and your text within the same group. To do that, all you have to do is when you enter a new cell, so hit enter, you just have to hit the space bar. So if I hit the space bar, you see that now I have the double T that appears, which means that my cell is going to be considered as some text. So I can start to type some text, the solution of the, let's say, equation. And then if I hit enter, by default, my new cell is going to be math. So I can switch between math and text that way. The other way also to change the type of content of your cell is to go into the code here and to select text mode or math mode simply. So you can see that I can switch between those two that way. Then, just so you know, within the same group, you can enter text math, but also some plot. If you want to visualize actually something specific, let's say you want to have actually the curve of this math expression within your group and then continue within your work, you can do that by simply going into the third area of your working space, which is what we call the context panel. So you can see here that my context panel is gonna, first of all, display any expression that can be plotted. So in my group 1, I had 2 mathematical expressions. So this equation and this function. And you see that MapleLearn displayed actually the 2 of them. I can exclude any of them by simply clicking on the little colored square that is located on the left of my expression that correspond, of course, of the color of my curve. Oh, sorry, no. By simply clicking on the cog that is located on the left of my expression and then unselect show plot. So when I do that, you can see that now MapleLearn is not going to display the curve of this equation because I don't want to see it simply. I can also, let's say if I want to see another curve, link to that. So if, for example, I would like to visualize also the derivative of this, this expression, I can insert, I can insert a cell and then type the derivative, so my expression. I'm gonna do it, so 18. square plus 16x. And let's say you want to include actually this plot that you can see here into this group, so you can have it and continue to do your work. All you have to do is to select actually the cells that contains the plot you want to display. To do that, you just have to hit the Control key and then click on the cells containing the math expression you want to plot. So I've selected here two mathematical expression. And now all I have to do is to go into the context panel and click on plot. When I do that, MapleLearn is going to include the plot of what I've selected actually, and then I can play with this plot and customize it. So if I want to change the color of one of these curves, I just need to click on the little color square on the left and then select a new color for this curve. So if I select this, I just have to have it. Don't forget that you can also add modify any of those expressions, and MapleLearn will automatically actually update the curve. So if I change the expression here, I change my expression here, I'm gonna get it. MapleLearn will update everything. So this is a way actually to enter your content. So you can use your keyboard, use the function palette that are here by simply clicking on the expression, or use also your context panel to include some plots. So now that we've talked about how to insert some content, we're going to talk about how to solve some problem using MapleLearn. So the idea behind MapleLearn was really to make available a tool that can be considered as an electronic notebook. So both for the student, but also for the teacher. What I mean when I talk about electronic notebook is really not to give a simple calculator to the students. So it's really give the opportunity to solve a problem, to explore a concept, to really understand the concept, instead of just doing some calculation. So using a tool to perform some calculation. So I've picked up a fairly simple example to illustrate that, which is a simple linear equation. So you see that here I've entered my linear expression. So of course, MapleLearn is gonna plot this expression because this is some math. So it's gonna plot it into the plot window. And then the context panel is gonna offer me some operation if I want to apply something on it. But nothing stops me from solving actually my linear equation by hand, line by line, exactly the way I would do it on my notebook or even on the whiteboard for the teacher. So I can go step by step. It's 8. Then I'm gonna have this equal minus, and I'm gonna do a mistake on purpose. So I'm gonna do that. And x equal. And the great thing about MapleLearn is, as I say, it's gonna plot everything that it can see. So for example, in my case here, I've made a mistake. So first of all, you can see it here because MapleLearn simplified it. But the other way also to see it is simply to use the plot window. So the student can see actually that there is a difference between the curves, so something is wrong. So he could either correct himself directly, so let's say minus, and then do the correction that way to get the proper result. And now you can see that all the expressions are equal, or you can go back into the original problem and then click on the context panel operation, solve for x. So that way MapleLearn will return the result, so it can check actually if everything is correct. So as I say, you can see that you've used MapleLearn as an electronic notebook, so you solved your problem, and at no point you saw the solution of the equation until you click onto the context panel operation to get actually the solution of it. So I've used a fairly simple example to illustrate that, but don't forget that you can do all sorts of math with MapleLearn, not just like simple calculus one. You can also work with matrices if you would like to perform some calculation, but also trigonometric function. All of that is available here. Now let's go into, I would say, the side that is more focused on how the teacher can use MapleLearn to teach a concept and really help the student to understand something. So I've picked up an example here, which is actually an exercise where I want to show to the student what's the difference actually between a simple interest account and a compound interest account. So what I've done, I've put a lot of text. So exactly the same way I would have had it on a not on a book or on a PDF document. And then I'm gonna go and use actually my expression, the correct function actually, to illustrate the different formulation for the different account. So here we have the formulation for the simple interest account, depending on the time. And here we have the formulation for the compound interest account, depending on the time once again. So you can see that I can display once again those two functions. So the green one corresponds to the simple interest one, and the blue one to the compound interest. I can change the color and customize them. And the great thing about MapleLearn is instead of having a static content, so for example, here the teacher wanted to illustrate how actually the value of the two account change after X month, so 48. So instead of having this really static content, what you can do is simply actually creating a slider that will allow the student to play with the content and also make it more interactive. So here I have my time variable. So I could obviously change the value of the time. So I can enter t equal 10 months. So you see that my value of my account are going to be updated when I change actually, of course, this value. But this is a bit tedious, especially for the teacher when he wants to show live to a student how things change. So what he can do is simply go onto the cog here, the setting, and then generate a slider by simply actually clicking this show slider option. When I do that, I'm going to be able actually to customize my slider. So choose the value. So of course, I'm going to get only positive value. So let's say I want to illustrate the difference between the two accounts between 0 and let's say, I don't know, 50 months, something like that. Then I'm going to close it. And now you see that I have this slider that I can move around. So it's going to change the value of t. But while actually the value of t change, I have also my plot here, my plot window that I'm going to expand just so it's more visual for the student and for the user. And you see that when I change the value of t, my curve are changing also at the same time. So I'm just going to lock the view at that point. And you see that I change, actually, I get my value that get updated at the same time when I change the time. So just actually by creating a little slider and having some object, geometric object into my plot. So here I've added some point just so it's more visual to the student. I've generated a little interactive application to really illustrate something and let the student visualize actually both the curve, but also the value when the time change. Don't forget that the great thing about MapleLearn is that it's totally interactive. So the student can even go onto this plot window here and then drag the point and see actually how it changed simply. So let's say you want to be at 40 months, you can take the point and try to drag it and see actually if it gets it to 40 months and see actually its value. You can also generate animation also. If like you would like to talk and while you talk, start time by 0 and end up at the end, all you have to do is go back onto the cog of the slider and select animate slider. Once you do that, you just close dismiss and put your cursor in another cell. And you see that the slider is going to move alone. You're going to just animate yourself. And that way you see that like all the results, both numerical, but also my object onto my plot are going to change automatically. So I've generated this little interactive application by just entering some text, my math, and then I've used the cog to generate this slider and customize it. So you can see that while I'm talking, I've been trying to reproduce some of the stuff live. I didn't need any great knowledge of the tool. So all I had to do is to click on the cog and really customize my content by doing some clicks. So you don't need to enter some command or go into any programmation actually. You can create actually this type of application live in just few clicks. And this was really the idea also behind MapleLearn, is to give a tool to the teacher to allow them to really create content in, I mean, I'm not going to say in a few minutes because it can take up more time depending on the type of document, but really in just few clicks, without having to learn a specific language or having to, well, train themselves to use a tool. So that was one point. Then another thing that I wanted also to show in this case, I'm just going to stop my animation, is how you can use MapleLearn to work with data. because this is something that is quite often handled in economics and finance class. So I wanted to show you. So what I've been doing here, so I have my group. So you see that I have a table. Just so you know, to generate a table in MapleLearn, all you have to do is to insert a new cell, and then you go into the table palette here on the toolbar. And then you select the type of table that you want, vertical or horizontal. And you see that when you click here, then you get the first column, and you can add a column, remove a column, and then customize actually your table the way you want. That being said, tables in MapleLearn are not just a way to format or visualize your data. They are really helpful because they allow you to perform some calculation and to visualize actually those data. So you see that here in my table, I've entered the price, some price data, and then the demand that is associated with this price. And you can see that automatically MapleLearn is going to generate a point plot associated with this with those data. Note that as previously, those points can be moved around. So if I want to change the data that is in my second line, I can take this point and then drag it around. And you see that it's going to change also into my table. So that way I can play with my data. I can add more data if I want. I don't know, let's say I want to add one data, add 4. Let's say, oops, sorry, 451, and then we're gonna say the demand will be at that point, let's say 21. I've added 1 point just here, so this point is a bit out out of the plot. I can move my plot here. And then the great thing once again about table is that once you've generated, I'm just gonna remove this slide. Once you've generated your data table, you can do operation on it. So you could either use the context panel to do operation on those data, and you can see that when I put my cursor in the table, I have specific operation in my context panel. So I can apply actually a linear regression or a specific regression depending on the degree that I want. If I click on that linear regression, what MapleLearn will do, I just need to grade. I'm gonna get my group here so it's more visual. What MapleLearn will do here is it's gonna apply actually the regression command on it. So let me just go back and maybe use a regression with a 2. Okay, so another way also to use the table and to apply operation on it is you could simply add some columns. So I'm gonna add a cell on the top of this table, and I'm gonna use a random variable. So let's say I use the variable A, and I'm gonna define as 2%. And let's say I want to see when I apply 2% on my the data, this table, this column, I want to see how the value change. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a column to the right, and I'm gonna say that this column equal demand multiply by O2. And then you can see that automatically MapleLearn is going to calculate, actually perform the calculation depending on what I've asked. So here I've applied 2%, but I can also change my slider. So let's say I want to say, this is not the great one. Let's say I want to multiply by my demand by 2. I can just update it. And what I will do is instead of using a numerical value, a fixed numerical value, I'm going to call my variable A. So now I have my variable A, and I can change actually the value of my demand by simply changing the multiplication factor. And you see that while I do that, because I've generated a table with data point, what I'm gonna get is another set of points. So MapleLearn is gonna plot actually all the data that I have in this table automatically. Okay, so I hope that I haven't lost anyone at that point. If you have any question, feel free actually to ask those questions. What I'm gonna do also at that point is I'd like to share this document with you, exactly the same way you could do it actually with your student in class. So what you could do to share your document in MapleLearn is you could simply generate a share link. So you can click here on share, and what MapleLearn will do is generate a web link that you can then simply share on your teaching platform, or if you use any other way to exchange content with your student, you just need to use this link and send it to them. Or the other way also to do it would be actually to, because I know that some teachers really are still like really, how to say, old-fashioned, and they still like actually the paper, and they like to print and put annotation. So don't forget that MapleLearn also allow you to export your document into PDF. So if you'd like to print it or export it as PDF, all you have to do is go into the menu, go into File, and then you go into Print, and you print actually the document. When you do that, you're gonna end up onto a window that will show you what your document will look like. So the great thing is you can still change and reformat a bit your document. If you see, let's say that this group is like, I don't know, too high or something like that, you can change it. And then you just have to click on print, you select save as PDF. And then when you click on that, you're gonna get actually the PDF document of your MapleLearn document, which is quite handy once again, when it comes to when some people really like, I would say, still working with paper type of document or static content, you can have it that way. I'm just going onto my desktop, and here is my PDF document of MapleLearn. Okay, so that was the first part of our webinar. So really wanted to show you how to get started with MapleLearn, either by using one of the documents that is in the MapleLearn gallery, or by starting from scratch and having your own document, and it's a text mat, create also some interactive content. So now for the second part of this webinar, I wanted to show some example of documents that can be, that are used actually in economic class, and how actually they help the student to really understand some concept, both from a visualization point of view, but also from a theoretical. So really having all the formulas in one document. So just so you know, all the documents that I'm gonna show here can be found into the MapleLearn gallery. So if you go, once again, sorry, I'm just gonna quit. So if you go into your gallery, so document gallery, and you type into the research bar economics, you're gonna end up on, so first of all, the individual document, but also the collection of documents. The collection, once again, is represented by this square that has the little folder icon here. And then you can find all the documents that I'm, or some of them that I'm gonna show after that. So first of all, I wanted to talk about a fairly simple document that illustrates the change in demand when it comes to teaching it in class. So this is an extremely simple document, but also a really useful document for the student to visualize. So you can see in this document, I have what you will find, sorry, in this document is first of all a bit of a reminder. So what is actually the demand, but then after you have the function. So we define actually of all the parameters of the function, and also remind actually that those parameters will change between 0 and A. And once again, I'm sure you will be familiar with it. You can see that instead of having a fairly static content, so instead of having A with a fixed value, as I could have on my book, so let's say I define A as a value 5 and I have it, I can generate a slider. I show the slider, I can animate my slider. So then that way the student actually, once again, can visualize actually how my demand function is gonna change depending on the value of actually of A. So depending actually of the quantity that is requested. So this is fairly simple, but but in the meantime, it's really useful also for the student to have this visualization, so they can play with it. They can change the value of the quantity demanded, and they can see how it changes actually into the plot. You can also add some more, I would say, static content, some more explanation. So this is simply a group with some text where I've combined everything. As I've mentioned actually in the first part of this document, don't forget this webinar, don't forget that at any point you can also include the plot within your document. So let's say you don't want to have the plot window, you just need to click on plot, and MapleLearn is going to automatically include your plot into your document. So that way, so I'm just going to stop the animation because it goes really far. So then you're going to have your plot directly into your document. You can rearrange your content in here if you want to change and have the visualization in the middle of your document. You can have it that way. and then continue and teach, and then all for the student explore actually the content that way. Another really useful document that I wanted to present in this webinar is actually a document that has been created by one of our students, and that is available into the gallery. It's called actually the Lagrange multiplier, because this is something that is really useful when it comes to having a function and visualizing actually where is the minima and the saddle point also of this function, depending on my constraint and also the type of function that I get. So the way this document has been created was by using Maple. So you cannot create this document directly into MapleLearn. However, we have an entire team of content creator that can create that for you. So if you'd like something similar, don't hesitate to contact us, because this is really useful, once again, more from a point of view of visualization. So you can see that with this document that I'm going to share actually into the chat here, so everyone can test it a bit. You're going to be able to enter your function. So you're going to enter any type of 3D function. Then you're going to define actually your constraint. So I'm going to change actually the function just so we can see how it changes. So if I do 2x plus y, then you're going to define your constraint. And then you're just going to actually update the plot by clicking on calculate. Once you do that, you see MapleLearn is going to generate the new 3D plot. And then the student is going to be able actually to visualize how the plan is cutting actually this function with the constraint. You can also zoom if you would like to see something more specific. So just select the zoom point here and then change here. And you can go back actually to the original view if wanted actually by simply clicking on reset. So this is, once again, a type of document that is really handy, especially when you want the student to visualize the function, because the truth is, like, when a teacher is teaching this type of things, other than having a tool such as MapleLearn, it's almost impossible to generate a 3D plot on a whiteboard. Oh, I cannot imagine actually a teacher doing this. So you can see the power actually of having such a tool while the teacher is talking, so defining a specific function and a different constraint. I mean, I can change the constraint. And then having the student to visualize what he's talking about and just play a bit with the curve just to understand a bit more is really powerful. So this is also one type of document that you can find in the gallery that is totally interactive and customizable if you want to change the function, the constraint, and also have the critical point in that. Then another type of document that I wanted to show you, which is once again within the MapleLearn document gallery, is the level curve document. So once again, this document has been generated by Maple, mainly because it contains a lot of 3D plots, which is easier to handle by Maple, and a lot of buttons. So this document is once again really handy when it comes to helping the student to visualize 3D plot with some level curve, so plan kind of. So I'm gonna enter the same actually function that I had previously, just so we see the difference between those. So I'm gonna update the 3D plot. And now that I have my 3D function, what I can do, the beauty of this document is that not only it works with the 3D plot, but you can also use the 2D plot window to visualize actually the level curve. So if you want to see the horizontal section of it, so this is simple because it's just like a simple line. You just need to click on the button as well as the vertical curve. Or if you want actually to see the level curve itself, you just need to click on the button. And don't forget that you can update actually the parameter, so the level parameter, by changing K and updating the 3D plot if you want to see it properly. Have it here. And you have actually all those visualization accessible once again in just a few clicks. The student can use this document, can play with it, change the 3D plot function, and visualize the 3D plot, the level curve, as well as the horizontal and vertical section in there. Something I'm going to share this document into the chat, but please be aware that you can find it actually into the MapleLearn document gallery. And then I just wanted to finish actually with another type of document that is more actually interactive and that is really nice for the student to play with. Because when it comes to teaching economics, something that came quite a lot from some teacher is that they'd like the student to understand the concept of global as well as local extrema, so minimum and maximum. So the thing is, this is something that is sometimes quite hard to understand for the student when they don't see the curve. So MapleLearn will help them actually to visualize this type of concept and try to help them to find the answer. So here we have a fairly simple function, so this polynomial, and then we've selected a specific integral just for the local extrema, so between -2 and 4. Just so you know, you can customize your plot and select the range of your plot by simply going into the plot setting window here, and you select the range of the X and the Y. You can also customize the axis. I'm just gonna extend a bit my plot window, so it's a bit better for you to visualize it. And the great thing about MapleLearn, as you can see here, is that we've generated slider, once again, a bit of interactivity for the student, and we've included point. Once again, point can be included by going into the geometry palette and then including point. So then when I'm here, the kind of the goal for the student is to find each of the extremum, so the global minimum and global maximum, as well as the local one. So you can see that it can either move the slider to find it. So I mean, if it finds the global maximum, it's going to be here. If it wants the global minimum, it can move. So it can move either the slider, it can go directly onto the plot and find it actually that way. And then when it goes actually to the local one, same thing, actually moves the point and find it. And what I like actually about this document is it can, so you can share this document in class with the student so they can play with it and try to find the answer by themselves and get actually the answer. But nothing stops you from giving this as an exercise and then including the answer within the same document. So you can see that if I scroll down here, I have the answer of my document. So basically, if the student put his cursor into the solution group, he's gonna get the answer. And I've also included some labels so that you really understand which point correspond to what. So once again, this is a way actually to use MapleLearn to make it really interactive, really visual for the student to understand, to solve an exercise, and to get a concept actually. So in this case, it was a simple getting actually the difference between local and global, external.